Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Buddhist Path of Awakening course. Let's bow in. Let's see. Let's see how to pin. Okay. So good evening. Tonight, I'll lead off. Michael will conclude. This chapter, extraordinary chapter, from The Words of My Perfect Teacher by Patrul Rinpoche. This is the chapter on Guru Yoga. Let's start by setting the stage, as it were, by taking a good posture and a good state of mind. So a good straight body, because a good straight body is an alert body. Good straight spine, comfortable, at ease, palms down on your thighs perhaps, or in any meditation mudra you prefer. And we bring our minds into this present moment right here and now. It's effortless. It's already here. Relaxed, clear, without any thought of I and other, just pure awareness in this moment. It's utter rest and utter clarity, awake, clear, intelligent, without thought. And here we rest in this space, this room, wherever we happen to be. Seeing, hearing, feeling with our bodies. For most of us, probably not much smell or taste. Occasional thoughts coming and going in this clear, aware space of knowingness. This space, this intelligence, is the very essence of Guru Yoga. It is what the Guru teaches, brings us to, deeper and deeper, according to the capacity of the teacher and of the student. This is what we constantly come back to. It is the ultimate practice. Throughout one's day, one comes back to this again and again. This simple, effortless, purposeless, clear, intelligent space. And we rest here. That sets the ground, you might say, for this chapter. This chapter is all about this. Lots of words. He starts out, Patrul Rinpoche, by saying, here we go, the reason for Guru Yoga. In order to practice true Dharma, the truth, reality, it is of great importance to first seek an authentic spiritual friend, a teacher who has all the necessary qualifications, or to whatever extent we can make a connection with that kind of person. It may be distant, it may be close, it may be clear, it may be blurry, but it is what brings us to the Dharma, to the teachings. It's the awareness, the sensing of true reality as it is communicated by an individual or by a group of individuals or by a lineage of teachers and teachings, all coming back to bringing us into this present space. To the extent that we can get it from one person, we forge a bond with that person. It's the bond of the utter and most extreme gift that one person can give another. And whenever you come in contact with that person in any way, that communication comes back to life, which is why Guru Yoga is considered the ultimate practice. Guru Yoga means that you connect with your mind and your heart, with your entire being, with a person or a group of people or a tradition that can communicate this to you. This goes by many names. It's called pointing out instruction when it's given by a teacher to a student. In the Zen tradition, it's called satori. In the Kagyus, they call it the transmission of ordinary mind. Isn't that ironic? Ordinary, completely ordinary, utterly ordinary. In the Nyingma tradition, it's called Ritpa in Tibetan, Vidya in Sanskrit, both of which mean the same thing, seeing. Simple seeing, true seeing. All these words are pointing to the very, very heart of the Buddhist tradition, the highest and the most important teaching, the very essence of the path, which is to come back to clear, conceptless, simple awareness, the awareness that is always with us. We just get distracted. We get lost in thoughts. We get lost in dreams of all kinds. And then the dreams fade away, and here it is again. Now, people who haven't had it pointed out to them won't recognize it. They just go from one dream to the next. But once we enter this tradition, the very heart of it is this Guru Yoga. As one of the sutras says, I'm quoting now from the text, it is through faith that absolute truth is realized. When they talk about faith, what they mean really is the ability to let go of any support, complete trust beyond trust that this is real, that this is awake, that this is the non-parai. That is the absolute faith. He points out that Atisha confirms this, as so do many other great teachers. Another says the teacher should be recognized as the source of all accomplishments, worldly and beyond. The teacher represents the lineage. The lineage is carrying this message. It's preparing us for this, all the practices that we do. This practice of Guru Yoga at the very end of the path. In the Kagyu tradition, the end of the path is Mahamudra, the great symbol. In the Nyingma tradition, the end of the path is Dzogchen, the great perfection. Both of them culminate in this, in Guru Yoga. And why is it called Guru Yoga? It's because the transmission comes from one human being to another, or from a group of human beings to others, another or others. It's the function, the main function of a guru. It says, particularly in all the paths of the secret mantra Vajrayana, this is the ultimate teaching, the teacher has a unique and paramount importance. For this reason, all the tantras teach the practice of Guru Yoga and say that it is superior to all the practices of the generation and perfection phases. These are the practices that have us doing visualization and meditating in particular ways, which are very profound. But if one perceives and begins to connect to the message of Guru Yoga, it surpasses all. What is taught in this tradition is to pray with fervent devotion and complete faith to a supremely realized teacher or lineage of teachers, whose lineage is like a golden chain, untarnished by any variance, to rely on him or her alone and to consider him or her to be a true Buddhist. It's the very essence of our tradition. Your mind will merge completely with his every time we come present completely, here, now. Our mind is merging with the mind of the Buddha, the mind of the teacher. It is Guru Yoga. Saraha says, the great teacher Saraha, when the teacher's words enter your heart, it is like seeing you have a treasure in the palm of your hand. A treasure everywhere. They say over and over again that Guru Yoga, if you can connect to it when it happens, is the most profound of all paths. And the way we practice it is simply by coming back to this again and again and again, whenever it can happen. We're thinking about this, we're worrying about that, and suddenly, boom, we come back. We remember, here I am. That's the practice. You can do it while you're sitting on your cushion. You can do it as you walk down the street. You can do it sitting on the toilet. It doesn't matter. Anywhere, anytime. The devotional practice of Guru Yoga is the only way to awaken within you the realization of the uncontrived natural state. Uncontrived. It's not created. It's always here. No other method can bring such realization. And there's the story of Naropa and Tilopa. I think you all know that one. Naropa followed Tilopa for 12 years, hoping to get the real teachings, and finally one day Tilopa takes off his sandal and smacks Naropa in the face, and Naropa awakens to this, what was always here. This is the ultimate key point of all main practices. I'm quoting now from the text. This alone, if you always, in every situation, make it the heart of your practice, it is enough. Even if you practice nothing else. It is of the utmost importance, therefore, that you dedicate yourself to it from the very depths of your being. It is the culmination of the path. Then he goes into how to practice Guru Yoga. Now, there are lots of details that Patrul Rinpoche gives that come from the Nyingma tradition in the 18th and 19th centuries. As we go through Guru Yoga, we will be using the texts that Trungpa Rinpoche gave us, which come from the Kagyu tradition, rather than Nyingma, and which are current and modern. And so they're very different in a way than this. These are more detailed and more of a time. So he talks by visualizing the field of merit. You can do this. You can visualize the different deities, Vajrayogini and others, and you can she symbolizes this, absolutely. Have you seen, I'm going to, hold on, I'll go get a picture of Vajrayogini. Here she is, sweet thing that she is. 16 years old, naked, bright red, hair in flames, dancing. And she represents this untrammeled, uncontrolled, natural state of intelligence. She's one of the representations of it, one of many. Different styles, all communicating how fiercely unconfused it is, clear. So you could visualize her and have her remind you of it. Sorry, do we know this person? I don't think so. This is very profound teachings. It's really the most profound. There's no end to it. I'm going to read a little bit from the text, I think. Yeah, here we go. So we've shown a picture, and here's a description of her from the text of Vajrayogini. It says, visualize yourself at the center of a palace and think of yourself as having the nature of the Dakini, Yeshe Tsogyo, Geshe Tsogyal was Padmasambhava's consort, and she received his teachings in this teaching, absolutely. This will ensure that you are a fit receptacle for the empowerments. Arouse the primal wisdom of bliss and emptiness. And that's what this space contains. When one relaxes into it, it contains the primal bliss and emptiness, which means reality, that nothing truly exists. Everything is a constant passing, a presentation that is passing away every second. And you create a connection with the guidance she had from her teacher, Geshe Tsogyal. Inform however you visualize yourself as Vajrayogini. This is one practice. And you've seen what she's like. Red with one face, two arms, three eyes. She's gazing longingly at the heart of the teacher. Longingly here expresses a sense of impatience to be with the teacher. And what it means to be with the teacher is to be with this tamage shepa, with this ordinary mind, with this ripa, vidya, seeing, awareness, clear, simple, natural, utterly natural. It's the very core of what we are. And it goes on to describe her. So, when you do the chant to Padmasambhava in Udiyana, born on a lotus flower, you have attained supreme wondrous siddhi. That's this. This is the ultimate siddhi. Siddhi means power. Lesser siddhis are things like flying through the air, reading minds, turning lead into gold. The ultimate siddhi is to come to this awareness. And this is what Padmasambhava represents. And every morning, when we do that chant to Padmakara, this is what we're chanting to. This is what he represents. In the crook of his left arm, the master holds the spear with 3 points. That spear represents Mandarava, queen of Dakinis. In his this is a Khatvanga, this spear of 3 points that Padmasambhava holds. It's over there on my shrine. We look at it all the time. And these 3 prongs symbolize the essential nature, the natural expression, and compassion. And below them are severed heads. The dried up one representing the Dharmakaya, the Dharma body of the Buddha. A rotten one representing the Sambhogakaya, the communication body of the Buddha. And a fresh one representing the Nirmanakaya, the presentation body of the Buddha, that a Buddha walks through the world and gives teachings. And there's more. You can read it in the text, the whole description. He says, Patrul Rinpoche says, as you say the lines of the 7-line supplication. How does it start, Michael? You realize the Dharma Tao. I'm getting them mixed up.
In the northwest of the land of Udiyana.
Thanks. On a blooming lotus flower, you have attained supreme wondrous siddhi. Siddhi. This is the siddhi, the ability to come present. You are renowned as Padmakara, the one who is born from a Padma, a lotus, surrounded by your retinue of many Dakinis. That's all the energies of life. Guru Padma Siddhi Om, that's his mantra. I have a note to myself to read these instructions. Hold on. Page 316. You can read this. There are lots of details here, dependent on the
Unknown caller.
tradition. Sorry. And then we go to the offering of the 7 branches. This is something you will do again and again in tantric practice. Offering the 7 branches. I do a practice most days, and it always contains offering the 7 branches. It says, if we constantly train ourselves to accumulate merit and wisdom, merit means compassion, the ability to love the world and to be of benefit to others, and wisdom is to see this world as it truly is, beyond concept, through this simple lens of what we accomplish in Guru Yoga. Clear, ordinary awareness that is always with us. If you do this with a strong mind, everything that would otherwise take a whole eon to accumulate through the 6 paramitas can be accomplished in an instant. In an instant, we come back to this over and over again. I encourage you to form a bond, a relationship with a teacher who can communicate this to you. Because then, whenever you encounter that individual, in reality or in memory, it will conjure up Tamagishepa, ordinary mind, Rigpa. That person will bring it out in you. So there are 7 practices, 7 branches having to do with accumulating merit. The first is prostrations, the antidote to pride. We all know what prostrations are. You bow down. If you do a full prostration, you lie out full length on the floor, hands extended, and then stand back up again. And there are modifications of this for those of us who have gotten old, and our bodies won't do the whole thing anymore. And there are people in this room who are doing their prostrations right now. As you physically prostrate with your body, you recite the text of the prayer for the prostrations with your speech. And for those of you who are doing this practice, you're reciting the refuge formula. I take refuge in the Guru, I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Guru, number 1. And really what that means is coming back to the present. I take refuge in the Guru, I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. And here we are. With your mind, consider that you are doing prostrations in the company of all beings and practice with respect and devotion, relying entirely on the teacher and confidently surrendering yourself to him or her. Surrendering yourself. This is Patrul Rinpoche, or the translation of Patrul Rinpoche. What surrendering means is opening your heart and your being to that person who communicated this to you with love, with intelligence, with generosity, with appreciation and friendship. There are physical descriptions of prostrations, which I don't think we need to go through here. There are plenty of people in this room doing prostrations. He says, and this is good, I like this, even if you cannot do many prostrations, make the effort to ensure that however many you can do, they are all done impeccably, according to the way in which you have decided that you can do them. Working with a teacher like me or Michael or somebody. because we're all getting old now, or a lot of us are, and we're not capable of doing full prostrations. But there are workarounds. It says prostration is a general term describing a gesture of homage and respect. There are many different ways to do prostrations, and the customs vary from place to place. But you should do them in the way your teacher taught. If not, they will have no value. This is Patrul Rinpoche. The Buddha spoke of the immeasurable benefits of correct prostrations. The text says, prostrations will finally lead us to obtain the unfathomable Usnisha. That's that crown on the top of the Buddha's head that crowns the head of the perfect Buddhas. So the second of the seven branches is offering. And you make offerings on your shrine. I just threw out the offering that I do every day. I do a tea offering, but you can also have bowls of food and other things on your shrine. And there is support for your concentration. It says, then make mental offerings in the manner of the Bodhisattva Samantabhadra, filling the entire world and the whole of space with offerings of the human and celestial realms. Flowers, incense, lamps, perfumed water, this is with your mind, nourishment, palaces, landscapes, mansions, pleasure gardens, the 7 attributes of royalty and the 8 auspicious symbols, and so forth, with the 16 goddesses dancing and singing, each one playing her own particular instrument. And it says, make offerings by mentally creating as many emanations as you can in this way, and you say the corresponding words with both physically arranged and mentally created offerings. I offer everything in the universe as one vast gesture of offering. And what we're giving away is egotism, selfishness, self-centeredness, neurotic thought, and coming completely emptily present here, which is to be completely empty is to be completely full of everything. The third is confession of harmful actions. And you confess the neurotic things you've done. By confessing, this is not an expression of guilt, it's bringing conscious all the neuroticisms that we engage in, that take us away from our world and our hearts and our awareness. He says, confess first by thinking with intense shame and regret. I openly confess all my downfalls and harmful deeds, those I remember and those I do not. All the unmentionable, only negative things I have done in all my lives in samsara from time without beginning. From now on, I will never repeat those misdeeds. It's really just a matter of coming present, of coming awake. When we're asleep, we do these neurotic things unthinkingly. But once we realize what we have been doing, we can rest in awareness and not do them. The fourth is rejoicing, the antidote to jealousy. Rejoice at whatever good you yourself have done in the past, are doing in the present, and are certain you will do in the future, saying, I rejoice at all good actions, including the 2 truths, absolute and relative. It is the intention of the doer alone, the intention alone that determines whether actions are positive and negative or negative. And so you become aware. That's what rejoicing really means. You become aware of your intention. And you rejoice in the good acts, which celebrate life, which bring you back to this, which take you away from paranoia, egotism, scheming, worry, fear. You exhort the Buddhas to turn the wheel of Dharma. This is the fifth. What we're requesting is this Dharma of three vehicles, the Hinayana, the Mahayana, and the Vajrayana, further divided into 9 vehicles. The Hinayana into the Shravakayana and the Pratyekabuddhayana, the vehicle of the hearers and the vehicle of the self-enlightened Buddhas. The Mahayana, that's 3, which is the vehicle of the Bodhisattvas. And then the Vajrayana with its 6 in the Nyingma scheme, 6 subdivisions, the most important of which are the last 3, Mahayoga, Anu, and especially the very last, Bhatti Yoga, which culminates, is driven by Guru Yoga. This, having received the instruction from the teacher, we then embody it. We come present, awaken, we appreciate, and we love the teacher for it. The 6th is that we request the Buddhas not to enter into nirvana, to stay until samsara has been emptied. All of samsara. This is our great compassion that comes with this awareness. We want every sentient being, limitless of space, to awaken. And finally, we dedicate. Follow the example of Manjushri, the Bodhisattva of wisdom, by dedicating to all beings whatever merit, that means whatever accomplishment of the Dharma, has been, is being, and will be acquired by yourselves and others. You seal the dedication with the seal of this non-conceptual wisdom. He says, it is the power of the dedication that determines whether positive actions lead to complete enlightenment or not. For any dedication of merit to lead to perfect enlightenment, it must be accompanied by wisdom, freedom from the 3 concepts. Dedication, sullied by clinging to those concepts as real, is known as poisoned. And the 3 concepts that we give up are there being a source of merit to dedicate, someone for whom it is dedicated, and the goal towards which the dedication is directed. In other words, we're giving up any sense of personal or group accomplishment. Always be sure to set the seal on your positive actions with a proper dedication, where that is the only infallible method of ensuring that merit will lead to complete enlightenment. How ironic that after all the techniques which we're going to study in the Vajrayana, and there are so many, complex, beautiful, subtle, wise, it comes down at the very end to the most profound practice of all, the practice of resting in this reality, which is Guru Yoga, communicated to us by the lineage of teachers, which is why it's called Guru Yoga. We're uniting with the Guru. And with that, I'll turn this over to Michael. Let's see, hold on a second, Michael. Here we go.
Okay, so again, I think the most important thing that we can get out of Patrul Rinpoche's description of the Nundro practices, Guru Yoga, and the ones we previously discussed, prostrations, mantra, and mandala, is really understanding the spirit or the attitude with which these practices are done. As John said, when people here who choose to do Nundro, practice Nundro, we'll be working with the Kagyu Nundro, not the Nyingma Nundro. And a lot of the details are different, although in essence they're really the same. I actually looked at the text for the Guru Yoga in preparing to speak tonight, and some of the details are different, but clearly in terms of the intention and the kinds of things that we're asked to reflect upon and work with, it's really the same practice, although again some of the details are different. I think it's pretty clear by now that all of the Nundro practices have an element of surrender. Prostrations clearly, mantra, Vajrasattva mantra, mandala, where we give away everything to lineage, to gurus, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and now Guru Yoga. And I think it's important to understand something about what the nature of that surrender is. As John said, what it's really about is learning to open ourselves, learning to open our hearts and minds to the Guru, to the world, to all beings, in a compassionate and loving and highly intelligent way. But it's also letting go of neurosis, letting go of fixation, letting go of a lot of the mistaken beliefs, the conventional beliefs that we ordinarily operate with. Even in the Buddha's beginning teaching, foundational vehicle, the Hinayana, there's one teaching involves wrong views, 4 wrong views that beings have. I'm not sure I remember them in the precise order, but one is taking as pleasurable what's actually suffering. One is taking as permanent what's actually impermanent. One is taking as pure what's actually impure. And one is taking as a self when there's really no self. And just to say something about to take as pleasurable what's actually suffering, which also relates as well to taking as permanent what's actually impermanent, that we, with permanence, believe in some kind of a lasting thing, lasting entities, lasting results, when in fact one of the Buddha's core teachings is that things are always changing, and our very attempt to grasp brings pain. Our very, the experience of loss, the alternation of events and people and all the things that go on in our lives, our aging bodies, all of the things involved with impermanence, to the degree that we grasp and cling, bring suffering. Even with things, simple things that we think are pleasurable, even like a simple daydream, like if you've ever daydreamed about winning the lottery. For a moment it feels good, but in the background of that there's an incredible sense of poverty, there's self-aggression, there's all kinds of grasping and all kinds of neurotic clingings that really are the background of that, so that what we take to be pleasurable really has this backdrop of suffering. And this is what we're surrendering. We're letting go of our self-importance. We're letting go of self-cherishing in the Mahayana practices. We're opening our hearts to other people. And so when we really realize what we're doing, it's no loss at all. In fact, it's ultimately brings great joy when we understand things correctly. In any case, the next part of the text is subtitled Prayer with Resolute Trust. And it says, this is to bring to mind the nature of the 4 Vajras by praying to the teacher with resolute trust. So there's a tremendous profundity in this text, and there are a lot of places where there are just single words that actually quite a bit could be said about. But I think I'll start with just saying again the use of the word nature. What we're talking when you see that word, it's really referring to the natural state, the basic awake quality of mind that's always there. It's the natural state that's not conceptual, although we label it conceptually, we talk about awareness, but the actual experience is different from the word of just being fully present, simply here. It's not contrived in any way. We don't need to make it happen. As a matter of fact, contrivance gets in the way of really realizing it. It transcends anything that's habitual. It transcends karmically contaminated body, speech, and mind, which is what the four Vajras are about. The four Vajras are the Vajra body, Vajra speech, Vajra mind, and then the Vajra inseparability of the four, the Svabhavabhakaya. If you read the footnote, it says that the purified channels, that is the channels of the subtle body, is the Vajra body, which is the Nirmanakaya. The purified energies, the prana, the energy of mind, is the Vajra speech or Sambhogakaya, and that the purified mind is the Vajra mind. And then the nature of those three is inseparable, all one thing, is the Vajra inseparability. So this is what we bring to mind the fundamental purity, the true nature of mind, the awakened mind, simple present awareness, and realize that that is the nature of body, speech, and mind. And with that, we pray to the teacher with resolute trust. So altogether, we're talking about our fully enlightened nature. And the reason that we practice Guru Yoga is to fully recognize that the nature of the Guru's mind and the nature of our mind, the fundamental true nature of mind, are not different at all, which is why this is a non-theistic practice. The Guru Yoga is recognizing the Guru's mind and our mind in the fundamental true nature of mind is simply that. When it talks about praying, again, I refer to the footnote in the back of the book, that this is prayer understood in the deepest and widest sense of the English word, because this, again, they're using prayer as a translation for a Tibetan phrase. So being me, I looked up, what are the definitions of prayer? And some definitions of prayer are a solemn request for help or expression of thanks addressed to an object of worship. Another definition is an act of communication by humans with the sacred. Another definition is a spiritual communion. So again, it's really important to understand this in a non-theistic sense, that it's not that the Guru has something that we don't have. It's the Guru has realized something that we haven't realized. The Guru has recognized and fully manifests something that at best we have glimmers of. We have moments in our practice, moments in our lives, and we suddenly just wake up. We're available to people, we connect with people, we connect with things, and interact with the world in a skillful and loving way. We have moments like that. The Guru has fully realized that, and because we recognize these qualities in the Guru and recognize through our interaction with the Guru that these qualities are reflected or recognized in ourselves, that's what we're practicing in Guru Yoga. Interestingly, I also Googled Buddhist prayer. Buddhist prayer is a practice that aims to, this is the definition there, Buddhist prayer is a practice that aims to awaken a person's inner wisdom and compassion rather than to seek external forces. It's a form of meditation that unifies body, speech, and mind. So there we go. An example of prayer that we do in our chants is when we recite the four immeasurables. May all beings enjoy happiness and the root of happiness. May all beings be free of suffering and the root of suffering. May they not be separated from the great happiness devoid of suffering. May they dwell in the great equanimity free from passion, aggression, and prejudice. So we're asking that for all beings, including ourselves. Again, seeking to awaken inner wisdom and compassion. And that's what Guru Yoga is about. The footnote goes on to say, and again, this is just in defining prayer, but I think it's important to understand because it's easy for us to solidify things and to, in a theistic way, where we see ourselves here, the Guru over there, and us trying to get something in between. And it's not, it's union. It's not, You can't solidify it in that way. So anyway, the words for prayer, the phrase that means prayer, as it says in the footnote, is one word could be translated as cast or hit. Cast in the sense of causing something to happen, like the moon casts a shadow, for instance. But it also implies a total reliance and trust in something infallible, the guru, and the guru's recognition of the true nature of mind, as well as a forceful, determined undertaking. And therefore, it refers more to the state of the mind to be felt, one of total confidence, openness, and reliance, rather than to its expression. In other words, what's important here is understanding the meaning and not just mouthing the words, and that the meaning here relates to the four empowerments, which we'll talk about in a moment. But again, as I said just a moment ago, I think the most important thing we can get out of reading this chapter is really understanding the spirit and attitude of the practice, the spirit and attitude that we take. And I think that's what Patrul Rinpoche is trying to convey to us, the attitude and spirit of the practice. He goes on to talk about the view that we have of the teacher, of the guru, that we see the teacher as an enlightened Buddha, and we have full appreciation or thanks. This is part of the definition of prayer, was thanking, that the guru plants seeds for liberation. And again, the seeds of liberation is, again, just our ability to recognize our true nature, to recognize the fundamental nature of mind, which, as John says, is just simply what we experience in moments of peaceful wakefulness and meditation practice. It's said that the guru is not just an enlightened Buddha, but is kinder than the actual Buddha, because he or she is here for us, is with us, here and now. That they have perfect authority, that they have the nature, it says that they have the nature of the Haruka. And Haruka is a term for a type of enlightened being, usually with a wrathful aspect. But that the Haruka is the ultimate nature of emptiness and wisdom. Emptiness referring to the ungraspable, unsolidified quality of wakefulness, and wisdom being the clarity aspect. That the guru is a wish-fulfilling jewel, that just thinking, seeing, or thinking about the guru plants seeds of liberation. And we place our reliance and trust in the teacher in order to accomplish, in order to realize our true nature, in order to stabilize our experience of wakefulness, compassion, and all that we can experience. The next section is titled Taking the Four Empowerments. So the idea here is, having made our supplications, made our offerings, confession, all of the things to, again, surrender, let go of all the things that obscure, all the things that bind us in suffering, all the things that bind us in confusion, that we're able then to supplicate the guru and receive the four empowerments. And this is, again, a part of the guru yoga practice, but empowerments is also part of the entrance into any Vajrayana practice. Usually it's another word for empowerment you probably know is abhisheka. So abhisheka means empowerment. It also could be translated as an initiation. It's where we're shown the true nature of mind. It's where we're able to begin to let go of, or again, let go of the things that bind us, the confusion, the mistaken views, all of that. And so when it talks about purifying, what it's talking about are removing the stains that obscure our awareness, that obscure our wakeful nature, that obscure and bind our compassion. And so when we receive the four empowerments as part of Guru Yoga, we are purifying and removing stains. And again, it's important to understand, as with Vajrasattva practice, that the idea is our fundamental nature is never stained, is never in any way affected by anything, which is why what we're actually doing is recognizing the Vajra quality, the indestructible quality of body, speech, and mind. But it can be obscure, it can be covered over. We know this because even when we practice meditation, We sit with the intention to simply stay present, but our mind wanders, and then at some point we come back, and our mind wanders, and we come back. So we know that awareness, that we have awareness within us, that we experience awareness all the time, but we also see that from time to time, because of well, karma from the habitual patterns that have developed over lifetimes, that it's obscured. And the purpose of the four empowerments is in part to remove, purify or remove stains. And fundamentally, we achieve this by just simply recognizing the Vajra nature of body, speech, and mind, and developing confidence in that and stabilizing that. In terms of purifying body, it's purifying body of the the three non-virtuous actions of taking life, taking what's not given, or stealing, and sexual misconduct. With purifying or removing the stains of speech, it's removing the stains of lying, sowing discord or divisiveness. It's removing the stains of harsh speech and gossip or meaningless chatter. And with removing the stains of mind, things that obscure or cover over the Vajra nature of mind, it's removing covetousness or greed, you could say, or passion, wishing harm to others or aggression, and the wrong views, ignorance and opinionatedness, which again bind the mind, bind us in confusion. And when we're able to do that, then we realize Vajra body, Vajra speech, and Vajra mind. And it describes in the text that we do this with, again, we're visualizing the Guru, and we visualize white, red, and blue light along with the syllables Om, Ah, Hom, and sequentially with for body first, with and then speech, throat, with the head center for body, throat center for speech, and the heart center for mind. And there's a difference in the text that describes a second home. But the idea again is that we purify, let go of the things that obscure us. There is a sense of surrender, but it's really liberation. It's really freedom. It's freedom from endless lifetimes of going in circles, of constantly chasing after illusions and dreams, and creating suffering for ourselves and others. And that's really what it's about. These four abhishekas correspond to, if you were to do a formal abhisheka, which is again, one translation for abhisheka is initiation into a sadhana practice, such as the sadhana of Vajrayogini that John talked about. There are four abhishekas: Vaz, secret, Prajnaana, and fourth abhisheka. And these four empowerments correspond to that as well. And each one is a sequentially more and more recognition, more and more connection with the wakeful nature of mind. So that having received the four empowerments, we're open, we're clear, we're able to let go, at least have in the moment, at least in some experience of awakened mind, of Vajra body, Vajra speech, Vajra mind, and the Vajra inseparability of the four, the Svabhava Bhakaya. And again, these correspond body with, with Dharma, these again correspond to the three kayas: Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, and Nirmanakaya. Having done that, he then talks in the text about the attitude that we have, not just in the practice, but in our entire lives, that the whole world, we see the whole world as the experience of the Guru. Or as it says in the text, in short, arouse devotion all the time in every situation. And what we're devotion to is the Guru. But again, it's the Guru's mind and our mind are the same in the fundamental nature. So what we're really doing is just awake, just being awake. As he says, purify everything you see by seeing it as a teacher's form. And a particular instruction that when we encounter negativity, setbacks, disappointments, whatever kinds of negative events that might happen, that we could actually be glad and see it as being provided by the teacher's compassion to exhaust negative karma, which is certainly better than becoming aggressive toward the world. It's certainly better than becoming aggressive to ourselves and becoming self-critical. It's certainly better than following into habitual patterns of why me, or why does this always happen to me, or any kind of, again, aggression, despair, or depression that we might fall into. That we just see it as, be glad and see it as provided by the teacher's compassion, to let go of and exhaust negative karma, let go and exhaust the reference points, the confused reference points that we deal with the world from. And then on the other end, when we experience something positive, happiness or comfort, that we recognize this as well as a teacher's compassion, and be grateful and allow ourselves to open up and extend further to the world, rather than becoming, as he says in the text, proud or overexcited. In other words, we want to be aware of and let go of ego attachments when positive things happen, and just simply allow ourselves to experience the energy and the positivity of that. And again, extend ourselves to the world and extend ourselves to others. He says during meditation, and again, this is just in meditation and in life, when we experience states of mind, and he describes several different things, but basically it comes down to what are usually the two fundamental obstacles to meditation practice: agitation, or highly distracted, wandering mind, or the opposite extreme, dullness or drowsiness, a sense of heaviness. And that when we see that and recognize that we merge our awareness inseparably with the teacher's mind. In other words, we recognize and just wake up. It's not that we're trying to push something away. We just realize greater possibility, greater view. We are encouraged through the practice to rest in the view, as he says, rest in the view of the natural state, maintaining its natural brilliance. And there's actually a verse then from Milarepa. This is on page 331. As I walk, I take all perceptions as the path. So very powerful. I take all perceptions as the path, that everything we encounter is something that can wake us up. Everything that we encounter can invite us to open up and to be awake. This is how I walk, letting the six consciousnesses liberate themselves. So again, not being attached to perceptions, not rejecting perceptions. We just allow things to be as they are. As I rest in unaltered naturalness. This is the essential and absolute way to rest. Again, in unaltered naturalness, the fundamental, true, awake nature of mind. Utter simplicity, utter brilliance. As I eat the food of emptiness. This is how to eat without any dualistic notions. Again, if we solidify things, if we think there's something to grasp and a person to do the grasping, if we solidify the world into perceptions of I and other, which is which is the false view that false views that we often approach the world with, then we get stuck. Then we're falling back into neurotic patterns. The true nature of things is emptiness. It's not that we make things empty. It's that they are empty, and we just recognize that when we let go of our conceptual fixations and reference points. That is how to eat without any dualistic notions. As I drink the water of mindfulness and vigilance, mindfulness and awareness. This is how to drink unceasingly. So the verse from Milarepa really has a very profound wisdom about how to just simply be in the world. So we rest in the view of the natural state, maintaining its natural brilliance. And we receive the empowerments, which have three characteristics, as he says in the text, that they purify, perfect, and mature. What essentially means is they bring out our true nature. They help us develop confidence in our true nature. They allow us to make the switch of allegiance from our normal, conventional, habitual, neurotic thinking to just opening up. Very simple. The next part he taught is the description of the history of the Advent or the early translation doctrine. So this is description of the different lineages in terms of the Nyingma. I think probably the best way to understand this text, or the thing to keep in mind, is actually something that he says at the end, near the end of this chapter. There's lines at the end where he first quotes a tantric text. If you do not explain the history of its origins, people will commit the fault of not believing in the profound secret true teachings. So then Patrul Rinpoche says, following that line from the Tantra text, is because of the need to inspire the confidence of disciples by explaining to them how lineage can be traced back to its authentic source, that I have done so here in the context of the Guru Yoga. So basically, he then talks about the three lineages in the Nyingma tradition: the mind lineage of the conquerors, the symbol or symbolic lineage of the Vidyadharas, and the hearing lineage of ordinary beings. These correspond to the Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, and Nirmanakaya. So we'll begin by talking about the mind lineage first, which again connects to the Dharmakaya. And with this, what it's talking about is a lineage of direct mind-to-mind transmission. And it begins with the primordial Buddha, Samanta, in the Nyingma tradition, Samantabhadra. And he says, the quote is, he teaches without teaching, transmitting all the doctrines without words or symbols through the natural and effortless clarity of the great compassion that radiates spontaneously from primordial awareness. So basically, for us ordinary beings, which we come to with the hearing lineage of ordinary beings, in a general sense, the mind lineage is not something that we're able to access. That this is for beings with a greater degree of realization than, well, certainly at least myself. I shouldn't speak for everyone here, but certainly myself. But just to understand something of what this means, if we could, again, just take a moment, just adjust our, take a good posture, straighten our back, and just allow ourselves to settle for a moment. We've already said quite a bit, so we can just let that go for a moment. And maybe just, again, straighten the back, take an upright, relaxed posture, and just feel the breathing for a few minutes. Just relate to the breath. And as we settle into present awareness. And look at the nature of awareness itself. What is it? Where is it? And if just for a moment there's a gap between two thoughts, where one thought ceases and before another thought begins, and just touch that awareness that's there. And the point is that this awareness is, as is said in that sentence that I read, natural. It's just there. We didn't create it. We simply relaxed and allow ourselves to experience it, if we did. And that there's an effortless clarity with that. Just simply things as they are. Samantabhadra, the primordial Buddha, which is in one sense a representation of the fundamental true nature of mind, fundamental awareness, transmits all doctrines without words or symbols through the natural and effortless clarity of the great compassion that radiates spontaneously from primordial awareness. Primordial, again, meaning just this moment before conceptual mind. Just this, here and now. So anyway, it goes on to say, to continue with the text, for those who do not have the good fortune to understand this first transmission, a direct mind-to-mind transmission, there are other vehicles that involve a progressive path. And this is all that was taught by the Buddha, all of the foundational or Hinayana teachings, the Mahayana teachings, and all the Tantra teachings as well. If we were to, when we practice meditation, we recite the Kagyu lineage chant. If we were to recite, there are Nyingma lineage chants that in a similar way go through the transmission of a wakeful nature of mind from student to teacher. Just as the Kagyu lineage chant begins with Great Vajradhara, the Dharmakaya Buddha, who's blue representing the color of, it's a color that represents Dharmakaya. The Nyingma chant will begin with Samantabhadra, and then Samantabhadra transmits again via direct mind-to-mind transmission to Vajrasattva, who is Sambhogakaya being. And then Vajrasattva transmitted to Nirmanakaya, which is a form that we are able to relate to, a body, with the form, body, nature of Buddha, body, to Garab Dorje. So if you were to recite a typical Nyingma lineage chant, you to Samantabhadra, Vajrasattva, Garab Dorje, Sri Simha, who was a student of Garab Dorje, and then Padmasambhava, who, or Padmakara, who brought Buddhism to Tibet in the 8th century. So that's the mind lineage. The symbolic lineage of the Vidyadharas, this, it says in the text, was predicted by the Buddha. And this involves, among other things, the 3 higher tantras that John talked about, Mahayoga, Ana Yoga, and Ati Yoga. That, as it says in the text, were first taught in the God realm, then brought into the human realm. And these are connected with the sadhana, deity practice, sadhana practice, creation and completion, or generation and perfection practices, as well as Ati. In the Sambhogakaya, the idea is that there's transmission through symbolic mudras or gestures, through images and representations and substances, such as empowerments. So in the description that John provided of Guru with the Khatvanga and other things with Vajrayogini as well, that all of the things in the representation communicate something to us, that that, as you know, that the Khatvanga represents the 3 kayas, and there are a lot of, there are a lot of other kinds of symbolic things, so that there's a message communicated through in a symbolic way. Abhishekas are, are rituals that are loaded with very potent symbolism, again, meant to help us wake up, help us recognize the true nature of mind. And then finally, the hearing lineage, or sometimes it's called the ear-whispered lineage of ordinary beings, which is the Nirmanakaya form. In this case, it's the instructions that have been passed from teacher to student through the centuries. And again, it comes back to, as the author says at the end of the text, the reason for presenting these is to help us develop confidence, to help us understand that all of these things can be traced back to an authentic source. That all of this really goes back to the historical Buddha and all of the enlightened beings, practitioners who've come since the time of the Buddha. So that from teacher to student, there's an unbroken transmission. It's sometimes described as pouring water into water. It's the fundamental essence of the teachings is unchanged. So again, part of connecting with the Guru in this way means that we're connected with the lineages going all the way back. I, as read through the, especially the mind lineage, the stories that Patrul Rinpoche talks about with the mind lineage and the the symbol lineage. It's not the way that we usually think. So it's, there are, it reminded me of a course I took in multicultural psychology, actually. But one of the points made in the class was that different cultures have different ways of determining what's taken to be true, and that in some cultures, for instance, dreams, vision quests, are seen as more true than anything that you might experience in an ordinary way. And I think there's a quality of that in this as well. If that is meaningful to you and it helps, that's fine. If it doesn't, then at least the hearing lineage of the ordinary beings, we can trust that these teachings have been passed from teacher to student for 2,600 years now in a very authentic way, and that the realization of the Buddha is no different than the realization of the gurus that we might meet today, of the true nature of mind. So the chapter ends with Patrul Rinpoche again stressing the importance of the preliminaries, all of the preliminaries, but in particular Guru Yoga. That he says if you give up the preliminaries, the basis of the path, you cut off the very root of Dharma. And so he urges us to always keep trying until you arouse genuine conviction in the preliminary practices. Concentrate particularly on Guru Yoga, the entrance way for blessings. Another word for blessings, by the way, is Adhisthana, Guru's blessings, Adhisthana. And make it the very foundation of your practice. So again, just really emphasizing the importance of Guru Yoga, but really all the Nandro practices. And again, it's not a question of anything other than coming to be able to recognize the true nature of our mind, to let go of the stains, the obscurations, the fixed reference points, whatever you want to call it, that get in the way of our full recognition and realization of that. And through meditation practice, again and again, it's developing familiarity with the true nature of mind. So that as one teacher I heard speak once, Zigar Patrul, said, someday, at some point, your true qualities will shine greater than the obscurations, and we will wake up. So with that, I'll stop. We have a few minutes left. Are there any comments or questions? Otherwise, please do come to discussion group tomorrow night, and we can discuss some of these things further. If there aren't, I will share one of Pumla Rinpoche's comments about mudra and the power of symbols and gestures. All right. As for teaching through symbols, in America, we have a nice and very powerful mudra with the middle finger that makes people really angry. When we show someone that finger, we can transmit so much power without having to do anything else. We don't have to be in their car. We can just stay in our car. Show them the mudra, and they will get the full transmission right there. They will start jumping and yelling and changing their color. Mudras and empowerments and so on are like this, physical gestures that transmit something. Can you imagine the enlightening effect on people if a true tantric master were to show them such enlightened mudras? That is what we call the symbolic lineage of the awareness holders. I do appreciate Pumla Rinpoche's sense of humor. But the point is, symbols are powerful too. Oh, Miriam?
Yeah, I was trying to think of what one of those symbols would be other than the one in our culture, the middle finger. It's like that evokes something very conscious and very public.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering about the other symbols that you were referring to. If we haven't been raised in an Eastern culture, like if they're foreign to us to begin with, how could these symbols be evocative, maybe on another level? I'm not sure.
Well, tantric symbolism, some of it's very direct. You know, and quite blunt. Corpses, for instance, were overcoming ego, representing overcoming ego. Um, Severed heads representing cutting thoughts, letting go of thoughts. They're very direct. But there are symbols in our culture. I mean, there's symbols in every religion. In Christianity, the symbol of a cross, and for people for whom that's meaningful, it's a very powerful symbol. And I think it works in some of the same way in terms of trying to evoke or provide some kind of reminder to awaken to some kind of goodness for people that it functions in its true sense for. But
Thank you.
but otherwise, when actually you're doing tantric practice, one aspect of the practice is having some understanding of what the symbolism means. And then, at least in my experience, part of the real power of it is really through engaging really fully in the practice and doing it with some intensity. And it takes on a life of its own at some point. But at the same time, it's a good question. I sometimes do wonder about what there are examples, for instance, in some of the traditions that, like for instance, one example that's given sometimes for maintaining not too tight and not too loose in meditation. It's said to be like a Brahman spinning thread, and I imagine at one time that was a very powerful metaphor in somewhere in Indian or Tibetan history, but it doesn't mean much to me. It needs to be explained for it to have any real power for me. I appreciate other ones where, for instance, if you have a sheaf of hay that's all bundled together and tied and you cut the string and things just fall, that's a different example for just letting go, relaxing the mind. But it works. But it always comes down to, for each one of us individually, what works for us, at the same time as being open to trying things that might not seem familiar in the beginning.
There's so little discussion tonight. There's something in the material that stops the discussion. What do you think?
It's
Yeah, maybe we'll find out more tomorrow.
yeah, it's almost time. So maybe we should stop for now and just dedicate the merit.
Judy has something.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's because it's such, at least for me, totally new material.
Such what?
New,
Totally new. It is.
totally new. Uh, had no idea all of this even existed. So, it's
Really?
just,
That's
well,
exciting.
I mean, being in the moment and, what
Sure.
we're doing to practice is not new, but all the other things are, uh, kind of mind blowing. So, but that must be their purpose anyway.
Yes, mind blowing. Exactly. Yes. All right. Well, it's 9 o'clock, so I will uh, dedicate the merit and close for tonight.
And if any of you want to talk about this, Michael and I are available.
Yes, and Michael will provide the dedication of merit, which I accidentally closed when I didn't mean to.
Here, I can put it up.
I got it now. So we'll close by dedicating the merit generated through our study and our practice for the benefit of all sentient beings. By this merit, may all obtain omniscience, may it defeat the enemy, wrongdoing, from the stormy waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death, from the ocean of samsara, may I free all beings. By the confidence of the golden sun of the great east, may the lotus garden of the Rigdon's wisdom bloom, may the dark ignorance of sentient beings be dispelled, may all beings enjoy profound, brilliant glory. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, John. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, John, Michael.
Thank you,
Thank
Michael
you.
and John. That
Thank
was
you.
Good
Thank
food for
you.
thought.
Mhm,
Thank
for
you.
sure.
Helpful.
Yes, if I could do it right, I'd say that's all, folks, but
Uh,
Like Woody the Woodpecker.
feel free to come if you're free and you're interested. Discussion group tomorrow night, right after meditation.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Good to see you.
Good
Yeah.
night.
Oh, hi, Mark.